The following podcast is part of the Underdog Sports Podcast Network. For advertising information or to find more great podcasts, visit us at www.theunderdogsports.com and follow us on Twitter at RealTheUnderdog.
Okay. Well, just for the record, we got the Sunny in Phoenix too. 52.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Sunny in Phoenix podcast, a weekly podcast where we keep you up to date on everything Phoenix Suns basketball. My name is Charlie Erling, and as always, I'm joined by Mitch Krmpotich.
I don't know about you. But I feel good.
I don't know about you, but I feel good.
You know, I'm running out of, I don't know how to come back from this anymore because you let this go for approximately 30 seconds. And then I just lose track of thought, because I'm just waiting for the drop, you know?
Yep. Oh, yeah. I guess, well, for the listeners, if you want to know how the sausage is made, I don't play the drop anymore because I just add it in later. So it is a little anticlimactic for us because it's just, I don't know about you, then 30 seconds of silence, but I feel good, and then that's it. So the listening experience is definitely better than the recording experience.
Yeah, probably. But here's the way I should have picked up. Well, I feel good too because the Suns just had a great win in Game 2 to even up the series 1-1 with the Los Angeles Clippers. How was that?
That's right. Yeah, that was good. Shoutouts are in order for our bet question from last week. We were guessing Kevin Durant points in Game 1. Shout out to Omar at Midcard at Best, who guessed 32 points. Kevin Durant had 27 between the two of us. Charlie, you win. You hit 27 right on the head. We were both close. I mean, 30 was my guess, so pretty close. But since you won, you take a 1-0 playoff lead. And overall, that puts you up 9-7. So I quickly am falling behind. We need a lot more playoff games for me to catch up.
Yep. Climb on, everybody. I'm hot. I'm hitting them. As you just saw, I hit this one on the head. So follow me, and you'll probably get a shout out.
Yeah, do it. Let's see it.
Gotta talk a little smack here and there. You know how it goes.
Yeah?
Yeah. Okay.
When was the last time you used your Twitter? Not the podcast Twitter, yours.
2019.
Yeah, so that tells you what you need to know. But the podcast Twitter is both of us. We both see it. But if you get a response, it's most likely me.
Yeah, 99%. It's me.
You have some good ones sometimes, but it's usually me. Even though I don't really like Twitter. I remember a point where I told people just get rid of it, delete your Twitter. But yeah, it's still me.
And you know what? I just put this together. By follow me, I meant follow my bets because I'm hot with the bets.
I see.
On the podcast, I don't tweet anything.
Right.
Follow me with my immaculate bet question guesses.
Isn't that interesting that now when someone says follow me, it's like our minds go straight to like Instagram or Twitter or whatever?
Yeah.
Like I knew what you were saying, but that is where my mind went. So
mine goes to Incubus.
Oh, yeah. Nice. Inky Bus.
Yeah.
Wish you were here.
Boom.
Wow,
Man,
we're already
just
off the rails.
Wow. All right. You can tell we've been celebrating this big win, but no, we'll be talking about Game 1 briefly here just for a little bit. After that, we'll go into Game 2, which was, a bit of a happier note. We'll focus in on that and hope we see a little bit more of that moving forward into the series. But man, Game 1, we'll start. That was a loss 115 to 110. And my biggest takeaways from this one are that was a terribly slow start, especially from Kevin Durant. That's something that you can't expect to happen too often. And the offense in general, just I don't know what wasn't ticking with them. It's hard to explain, but was it effort? Were they too confident? I don't know what it was, but the combination of all this got us off to a very slow start that it was just a little too tough for us to crawl out of.
And I think it's both of those things. Plus, we looked like a team that has played 8 games together with one of our starters.
Right.
So, I'm not going to say I wasn't surprised, but I wasn't necessarily shocked. Like, did I expect to win? Yes. But seeing this outcome, like, so many weird things happened that, I don't know, it's not, I guess it wasn't fully shocking. And it just went to show that we are lacking a little bit of chemistry.
True. And you pair that with an aggressive defense from the Clippers, who have a lot of, still have athletes without Paul George out on the court. They can put some pressure on us for sure. Add those two things up, and yeah, that does pretty much explain the rocky start to game one. And, we did crawl back into it, and there were moments where you were thinking, okay, we can come back and win this one, but, it all just fell a little bit flat. And
right.
The thing about the Clippers, though, I mean, Kawhi in game one, 38 points, 13 for 24 shooting. You got to expect that's going to happen. And then there's Russ, who goes 3 for 19. Very different story for him shooting in game two. But there's only a there's only a few guys on the Clippers that you really have to worry about. And in this one, it was Gordon who stepped up with 19 points. But take Westbrook, Gordon, and Norman Powell out of the game somehow, and I think this team's going to have a lot of troubles scoring points aside from Kawhi. So that's not what we saw in game one, but I hope that's something we see moving forward.
Yeah, and my kind of bright spot to all of this is we played a really bad game. It was very poor. The Clippers played well, and they had guys who don't always go off. And we only lost by 5. As weird as that game was, we had a lead in the third quarter. I mean, I know I said this on Twitter, but we played one of our worst halves of the season in that first half. And then by the end, by the third quarter, we had a lead at one point. So that was actually pretty encouraging that we could come back from such a brutal start. I mean, I know the final score doesn't really matter. You win or you lose, even if it's by 1 point or 40, it doesn't matter. But I was just kind of hopeful knowing that this was as close as it was, given how bad we were. And just a lot of the strange things, like Kevin Durant only shooting once in the last 5 minutes. Like, very, very strange stuff.
Right. And, after a slow start like KD had, I could see him, maybe taking a step back from being the primary scorer and letting some other guys get involved. But late game, that's why we brought Kevin Durant in, is to help D-Book close up games. And, yeah, going that long without an attempt is pretty crazy. There were a ton of weird things in this game, though, like Chris Paul leading us in rebounds with 11.
Yeah, that was very strange.
Shout out to the one play with the offensive rebound and then that nutmeg.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
that was incredible.
Great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Falling out of bounds, saving the ball, nutmeg. That was awesome.
Man. Chris Paul, 3 points short of the triple-double. He had 7, 11 rebounds, and 10 assists. So,
yeah,
2 for 8 shooting, though. A lot of people, including myself, started to get a little nervous seeing Chris Paul struggle as a scorer in game one, round one. But he turned it up a little bit in the next one, so
He did.
That was reassuring for sure.
Yeah, and KD was also 1 rebound short of a triple-double. So that was pretty reassuring at the end, that especially because KD had a bad first quarter, that he could still play pretty well despite having a bad quarter. But that's the thing, it's KD. I mean, I guess I haven't watched him that closely before he came to the Suns as of late. I mean, when he shoots, you just think it's going in every time. It doesn't matter if there's 3 guys on him. It really goes in most of the time. And I don't think we've ever had a player like that on the Suns. Even Booker, who is ultra efficient and can hit almost everything. It's a little bit different with KD. He just can make anything and everything.
Yeah. He is so fun to watch. And it spoils you, though, for sure, because we're not used to seeing guys make it at that kind of clip. I mean, he shot first guy to ever go 55, 40, 90 in a season.
Yeah.
Insane.
It is.
But you get spoiled to the point where when he puts up a shot, you assume it's going to go in, and when it doesn't, you're like, what?
Yeah.
Why did you miss?
I know.
You don't
It's
feel
really
that
true.
way with a lot of guys, but there's always there's a few that make you feel that way a bit.
Even with Booker, I'm like, you can't make them all. But with Kevin Durant, he misses 1, and I'm like, what's the matter with you? How come you keep missing these shots? And then you look at the box score, and it's like, oh, that's his first miss.
Yeah. He's shooting 75% from the floor. It's okay.
Yeah.
All right. The one thing we do have to discuss, though, the game 1 rotation. We're without Campaign at point guard. That throws a wrench into things, but man, even late in the regular season when he missed that, was it the second to the last game? Mm-hmm. He was a healthy, did not play, and everyone else got in. That seemed a little goofy, but then he gets injured in the final game of the regular season, comes down a little awkward on his lower back tailbone area, and he's listed out for game 1 with the back, so definitely missing some Campaign. But then you just look down the bench and you see we ran an 11-man rotation, and Landry Shamet played 3 times more than anyone else off the bench with 24 minutes. He was minus 14 in those 24 minutes, while the starting 5 all goes positive except for Booker, because that's probably because he played a ton of minutes and was out there with the bench for a good chunk of it. But
yeah.
The rotation was just very questionable. Seeing Ish get in there so early, seeing only 7 Josh Okogie minutes, just tough to wrap your head around right there.
The Booker plus bench lineup was so ineffective. It was horrible. It reminded me of watching the 19 win seasons where Booker's trying to do it all with no help. That was just not a good idea. And I think Monty learned, because in game 2 we really didn't see that. But yeah, 11 guys, not including TJ Warren. We played 11 guys and TJ Warren was not one of them. That's weird. It was just really I didn't really know what was happening.
No. So when we came into game 1 and we saw that Torrey Craig was starting, I think it was pretty easy to say to yourself, okay, that's a much better matchup on Kawhi.
Yeah.
Craig's got some size and strength over Okogie, so we can roll with that. They're both familiar with the team. Craig a little more so. They've both been in the starting lineup at points over this season. Whatever. It all made sense for Torrey Craig to start this game, who played great this one and game 2, by the way.
Yeah, he really did.
Amazing. But Josh Okogie plays 7 minutes, puts up 1 shot in a game where their guards are rebounding like animals. And who's the one guy that we can put out there who's a guard who rebounds like an animal? Josh Okogie. It just seems like we were missing out on so many opportunities which we're used to seeing Okogie take advantage of, but he just wasn't in the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they destroyed us on the boards. I think the offensive rebounding is really what lost us the game. They had so many second chance points. I guess their bench was good and ours wasn't. But offensive rebounding was huge.
And that's kind of where we had buttered our bread this season, is really attacking the offensive glass. And, but then again, we were never a great defensive rebounding team. Never, I don't think we were in the top third ever. We weren't cleaning the glass. But seeing them grab 15 offensive rebounds, that hurts. And I don't have how many came off second chance points, but it was a ton.
Yeah. Yeah, and just I think our guys looked a little bit shell-shocked at times where the ball would bounce and they would just kind of try to grab it nonchalantly. And then Westbrook would just run in and grab it, like right out of their hands, basically. And I don't know, I'm like, you got to be aggressive when you're rebounding. You got to go to the ball. I feel like I heard Eddie Johnson say that 100 times.
Yeah.
But it's, the fundamentals, that's what makes or breaks games. And, we were really lacking.
Yeah. Russ had 5 offensive rebounds to lead the entire game in that category. Zubats had 4.
And it felt like they each had about 70.
It did. Yeah, it really did. At the end, they just kept grabbing rebounds, and we could not get that stop. And and I'm sure you heard Eddie say this once or twice too, but when you give a team 2 or 3 shots to get 1 bucket, it's gonna happen. And
right. Oh yeah.
It did.
I mean, an NBA team, giving them 2 opportunities to get a shot, they are most likely going to hit one of them. 3, the odds go way up. And we had a lot of 2 or 3 shot possessions that we just did not defend well or box out on. Though it's a little bit hard because they're calling fouls on box outs now. Like, I don't think you can really box out too much in the NBA nowadays. So, that's kind of hard too.
I don't get the box out thing because I feel like you see guys box out faced up to each other. Have you noticed that once in a while?
Uh-huh.
I feel like that should just be an automatic foul because you're more or less just running into someone and pushing someone, but boxing out with your back and your butt is a different story.
Right.
But,
I've seen fouls. Yeah, the whistles. Yeah,
be crazy. They be crazy.
I have seen fouls on things that I'm like, I thought that's what we were taught to do.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. It seems like so many things are just skewed now too, because I've been watching basketball my entire life, and it's just so disappointing to honestly have to question, well, was that a foul? Was that actually a foul? Compared to, back when I played, I don't know, everything seemed pretty black and white. But now in the NBA, it's, I don't know. Yeah, we grew up learning I don't want to say a different sport, but definitely a different version of the sport.
Oh, yeah. back in the day, I remember being taught, if there's a foul called on you, you raise your hand and you take it. And that's what we were taught. And it was pretty obvious most of the time. I don't think I ever argued with a ref once. Of course, this was at a different level. But still, right. I wouldn't go to the ref and disagree. I would raise my hand. I think I fouled out of a game maybe one time. And I played very physically. I believe get called. That. Yeah. I would get called for the occasional moving screen, and I'd get called for a shooting foul here and there. But I would realize it, and I would adjust. But I don't know how these guys are supposed to adjust, because their adjustment is just let them score, basically. They call it so tight, and I know I need to get the OK Boomer sound going here, but it's just they can hardly play the game. It is a different version of the game at this point.
Right, and there was, I don't know the context of this, but there was a discussion about potentially getting rid of the charge.
Oh my gosh. What do you think of that?
Oh, that'd be the worst thing you could possibly do.
I totally agree.
I saw that it was even a discussion, and I thought, like, why is this being discussed? This is a terrible idea.
Right.
Turn every game into an all-star game.
It's
Put some
already hard
trampolines
enough.
in the court.
Yes. Give them a 4-point shot too. It'll be the Globetrotters. How are you? It's already hard enough to play defense. Don't take one more thing away from them.
We got off track there.
We did. But we had to go there.
We did. Okay. Back to the game though. Let's celebrate game 2. How about that?
Yeah, that's
123-109. Devin Booker is what I want to start off by saying. Even though maybe I'm gonna take it back. Torrey Craig. Mentioned him earlier, and he had 17 points in this one. He had 22 in game 1. No one expects that out of Torrey Craig, but he has been hitting open shots. And another thing that Eddie gets really excited about, Torrey Craig's getting to the midi now.
Yeah.
It's like Mikhail and Cam left, so we have to have more guys join the midi committee, and he's in it.
Yeah. Yeah, he played really, really well in both of these games. That was really exciting and so unexpected. Yeah, when he started going off, I was just chuffed and cheesed.
Yeah. I remember not long ago not wanting him on the court because he was playing like an airhead. Right. And, a few weeks later, and he is our 3rd best playoff performer right now.
Yeah.
I'd say he's playing better than the other 2 starters right now.
Yeah, probably. I mean, Chris Paul played well in game 2.
Yeah.
Game 1 definitely goes to TC.
Yeah, and he's guarding Kawhi. And Kawhi's scoring. He's not shutting him down, but he's making him work for it, and that's all you can really ask for because
Kawhi was tired in game 2. You could see he was tired.
Yeah.
And they were kind of forced to bring him back in earlier than they wanted to in the 4th quarter, and you could tell he was tired.
Yeah. 39 minutes for him in this game. But then you look at our end, old man Chris plays 38. Durant and Booker play 44 and 45. But I think we're just way more well-suited to play those kind of minutes, all of our guys, compared to Kawhi, who's, the obvious injury history, the missing of games, the load management, all that stuff. I assumed we'd see him get gassed. I wasn't expecting it to be in game 2 already, though. I won't lie about that.
Right.
That's a good sign for the Suns, for sure.
It is. Well, and the schedule is a little odd, but it's just every other day. That bodes so well for us. Even though it's odd, even though I don't necessarily love it. It's nice to have 2 days off here and there.
Right.
But it's good for the team. It works out well for us this round at least.
And it keeps Paul George definitely away from returning for the series too, which was he complained about on his podcast also. So he was hoping there'd be a few days off to maybe get back, but
I saw a really interesting thing that Kevin O'Connor tweeted actually about, because there's I think the game 3 starts 30 minutes after the game 3 of the Warriors Kings series. And people are like, why are there 2 games happening at once? This is an issue. And it's because of hockey. It's the NHL playoffs as well. And so that affects stuff. But Kevin O'Connor said this is just another reason why the NBA should start in December and finish 2 months later, because then it doesn't interfere with hockey playoffs. Hockey playoffs will be over by the time NBA playoffs start. And I thought that was really interesting. I've never really considered that. And it would also give us more of like a year-round, like major sports cycle. We would have less of the only baseball kind of deal.
Okay, so I can get behind that.
I actually kind of like that idea.
Yeah, I wouldn't be opposed. Summer League would be
Summer League
dead,
would be
though.
affected. Yeah.
But Fall or Winter League in Vegas would be much better.
It would. Yes, it'd be way better.
Hmm.
So, yeah, interesting idea. I don't necessarily see it happening realistically anytime soon, if at all. But, yeah, just interesting thought. But, yeah, the schedule has been a little bit off, and I imagine that will get better, especially as time goes on and there's less games and everything. It'll get better.
Yeah. So we had our guys play some pretty big minutes in this one, but thankfully Monty seems to have gotten the rotation figured out quite a bit better here in this game 2.
Yeah.
We got Okogie and Biyombo with 15 minutes apiece, and then Shamit at 14. So they cut off 10 from Shamit last game, dispersed them a little bit better, but still interesting to me that 2 new guys, completely new guys, got into the rotation for brief stints. TJ Warren played 2 minutes, Damian Lee played 3 minutes.
Yeah, that was a little strange, but it makes me think about going back to game 1 for a second. Was game 1 a feel-out game? Given that we had these strange rotations and we got a lot of information from that clearly, and we saw a huge change in game 2. So can we consider game 1 a feel-out game?
That's interesting to think about, because the only reason I can think of why Ish Wainwright was out on the court at all in these playoffs right now is because he played great defense against Kawhi in game 82 of the regular season. So I was thinking, like, maybe Monty throws him out there for a few minute stretch just to see if he can bother Kawhi a little bit. But, he plays 7 minutes in game 1. Game 2, he just plays 1. I don't know what Monty's method to the madness is with this rotation, man. But all in all, much better in game 2 than game 1, so I'm not going to go too wild. But
yeah.
Feel out game? Are we allowed to say that as as a Suns podcast and not a Lakers podcast?
Right, or a LeBron cast.
The LeCast.
I mean, I think my thing is it wasn't intended to be, but it basically was a feel-out game.
And, we can call it a feel-out game as in we're trying to figure out what the Clippers are up to.
Yeah.
Also, we're still feeling out, you mentioned this earlier, our rotations and lineups.
Right.
So, maybe throwing these guys out there for little spurts. Maybe Monty's just kind of waiting to see who meshes together the best. But I just feel like this is something you figure out in practice.
Yeah.
Not game
I agree.
1, game 2
Right.
even. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I agree. And that's why I think it wasn't intentional. I don't think that was the plan. He wasn't saying we're going out to just get some information and feel things out. That's not what was being said. But I just think that's kind of what ended up happening.
Sure. One thing I want to mention, Bismack had a great game 2.
Yes, he did.
6 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 blocks.
Yeah.
I can get a little antsy when Busy has the ball in his hands. I didn't realize he had a couple assists, though. I didn't know Busy threw assists, but he does.
Yeah.
That's great. And 3 for 5 from the floor. That's just fine. You live with that.
His blocks were they got the crowd into it. They were pretty pivotal blocks, I would say.
Yeah.
I always say Bismack Biyombo wants to block shots into Chase Field. Like, he is so serious about them.
Yeah.
And I love it. So, yeah, I think he had a really good game.
Yeah, the Westbrook one sticks out to me a bit.
Yeah.
That was beautiful. And there was a little moment where the Clippers, it was towards the end of the game, they went a little small, and we left Busy out there, and he was guarding Kawhi for a few possessions.
Mm-hmm.
And he stayed in front of him pretty decently. And that wingspan, I mean, if they ever try to go small on us, let Busy play center.
Yes.
Take that advantage because he can move. He can move. Him and Ayton both, really. I mean, if you want to try to go small against those two guys, good luck. They're great athletes all around.
Yes. And I think we do have to mention Ayton. I mean, great game 2. People talked a lot of crap about him in game 1. Possibly deserved. Maybe not all the way. But game 2, he played well. And I like kind of the way that he was going about things, because I think everyone just expected him to try to bang down low. And when he didn't, and when he shot those elbow jumpers and made them free throw line extended jumpers, it was very hard for the Clippers to adjust, especially for Mason Plumlee. I guess Zubats too, but probably harder for Plumlee because they play that drop coverage. And,
right.
When Ayton tries to go to the rim, it is hard for him. But when he can hit those free throw line extended jumpers, it throws their defense so off.
Yeah. Committee. Make those big guys come out, and they don't want to. And it's a beautiful thing. It's tough when your guy who's 7 feet tall, built like a house, but just doesn't act like it a lot. It's tough to wrap your head around that watching him play. But the finesse game that Ayton has, the ability to step out, the ability to move his feet the way he does, he's such an intriguing player, man. So many people want to give up on him, but I hope this guy's a son his entire career because he's going to get better and better and better and better. I don't know what's going to hold him back. Probably attitude, if anything.
I was going to say that exact thing. Attitude. Yeah.
And if you want to talk about his attitude in game 1, maybe looking a little lackadaisical, I think the whole team did. So you can point at Ayton, but you got to point at everybody else too for that game 1.
Yes, totally. And his rebounding was much better in game 2. I thought that he played pretty well.
Right. 5 fouls. He's been picking up some fouls, but I like that I'm not saying he's out there hustling like Okogie does or anything like that, but he's putting himself in good position defensively a lot of the time. Yeah, he'll pick up some fouls, but his job is out there to, affect shots. He doesn't need to block every single one.
Right.
He just needs to make them miss, and he does a decent job of that lately.
It's also 5 fouls on a Scott Foster crew, so that's like 3 anywhere else probably.
Yeah, like 2.7 I think is the conversion.
Yeah.
Yeah, but how great was that? CP3 finally breaks the Scott Foster curse.
Oh, yeah.
I think even all the Suns haters online had to at least enjoy that a little bit for Chris. Just a little bit.
It was awesome. I loved his press conference after when they asked him all about it. He says, I didn't notice. Perfect response. Don't even get into it. We all know it's there. He's acknowledged it before. I love that response. But yeah, there was a point where I'm like, oh, Scott Foster's doing his thing. Get ready to lose. I saw a lot of people say they were putting money on the Clippers because of how game 1 went and because it was Scott Foster. I don't think I could ever go that far, but I wasn't feeling good about it going in because of this, but the curse has been broken, and I know it took Kevin Durant to do it, but I will take it.
It's over. Let's hope he never refs again. He hangs up the whistle and says, if I can't beat Chris Paul, I don't deserve my spot as a referee in this league anymore.
Yep, he decides to retire in the middle of the playoffs. How great would that be?
Oh, that would be so good.
It'd be even better if they did an actual investigation on the gambling that we all know he's doing.
Yeah. It would be great, but I don't think it'll ever happen.
No, it won't.
All right, let's move it on to the upcoming games. So Game 3 comes out, or excuse me, this episode comes out the same day as Game 3. So we'll kind of skip over that. Obviously, the team heads to LA for a couple games. Going to be some big ones since we technically gave up our home court advantage here. So we're definitely going to need one here in LA. But let's talk about Game 4 a little bit. It's going to be on Saturday, April 22nd, and this holds our bet question.
It does, and we are going with another old reliable, and that is Devin Booker points. How many points will Devin Booker have in Game 4? I think you went first last time, so give me 28.
33.
33. All right. So let us know on Twitter at Sunny and PHX Pod how many points you think Devin Booker will have in Game 4 on Saturday, April 22nd. Whoever's closest will get a shout out on next week's episode or next episode, whenever it ends up being.
Right. And it's either going to be 33 or 53. I'm just
Ooh.
calling that.
Yeah. I think this is going to be a big KD game. I have a feeling it's going to be a KD game.
I would love to see a 45-point Kevin Durant night on like 15 shots.
That'd be
amazing.
amazing.
Something like that.
Yeah. One of my predictions for the playoffs was that Booker and Kevin Durant would average 25 points a game or more. And so far it's looking good.
Oh yeah, I think that will happen.
Yeah.
30 would be crazy.
30 would be amazing.
Remember
we
what
would
Rondo
win,
said?
right?
KD's going to score 30, Booker's going to score 30, CP's going to score 20, and then no one else can score, so they're going to lose every game.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right on the head.
Yeah, Rondo, real basketball genius.
Yeah, isn't this guy supposed to be like a great head coach candidate, and he's spewing that crap?
Right.
Hey, there's, 10 other guys on the bench, or 11 or 12. Don't
Right.
worry about them.
I mean, our bench had like 11 points in Game 2 or something.
Yeah,
and they
that
still-
is true. That is true.
Yeah.
All right. So, Game 4. How about this? What's the one thing that you want to see more than anything the Suns do in Game 4?
I would say rebound better. Less second chance opportunities. I think in Game 1, if we would have had less second chance opportunities, we would have had a similar score to Game 2.
I think that's the correct answer. I'd like to say that, but I'll pick something different. And it is spurring off Game 1, but I don't want to see the Suns get off to a sluggish start like they did in Game 1 for the rest of the playoffs.
And
Because-
Game 2, really. I mean, we didn't start off great in Game 2.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. So a hot start is what I'd like to see the most in Game 4.
Yeah. We
You
are
know,
the
get up-
Suns after all.
Get up by about 20, then let it trickle down to about 10 at half, then about 5 at the end of the third, and then just a real dicey fourth quarter. That's how we like it.
Always. That's how we win games.
Love
and then
it.
we win by 7 because there's fouling us in the last couple minutes.
Love it.
Yeah, that's the usual. I'd be comfortable with that at this point because I feel like I've seen it for 3 years in a row.
Yeah. That's just like Old Faithful.
Yeah.
And going off that, overall feelings after 2 games of the playoffs. Obviously, a lot of us still have last year's Game 7 exit on our minds. How are you feeling? Are you feeling optimistic at this point?
I would say I'm less confident than before. The first couple games are usually a little bit of a reality check. I know 2 years ago that was kind of different because we did lose. We won Game 1 and lost Game 2 in that Lakers series 2 years ago. And then by game 5. Yeah, game 5 and 6. So that did go 6. And then we swept the Nuggets, and that felt really good. And then the Clippers series, even though it went 6 games, it didn't seem like it was that difficult. So, yeah, I mean, I guess the first round is typically a reality check. I mean, last year, absolutely it was a reality check with the Pelicans.
Yeah.
Like, really, really pushing us.
Yeah.
So I think we have gotten a bit of a reality check. I still feel pretty good, but I'm definitely less confident than I was before.
I don't know what feels much worse than losing game 1 at home.
Yeah.
Because, man, I was thinking some crazy stuff after that game. I won't lie.
Yeah.
Are we going to embarrass ourselves right out of this first round? Is it going to happen 4 games in a row? Like, I don't want to be a doomer. I didn't dwell on it, but that stuff did go through my head after that game 1 loss.
Yeah.
Russell Westbrook shoots 3 for 19, and he's pretty much their second option, and they won.
Right.
Like, what's happening? But I do feel pretty optimistic now, though, after seeing game 2. I think I did call Suns in 5 when we made our predictions.
You did say 5, yeah. I said 6. Mm-hmm.
So it's still possible, but if we dropped one more, I wouldn't be surprised at all. So, yeah, I'm a little less optimistic than I was going in after you get smacked in the mouth round 1 or game 1. But I do still think we're going to take this series for sure. I
do too. I think we will probably lose another game. And I think it will be one of these 2. And then we'll win 2 in a row after game 4. That's my prediction. But I would love to be wrong. Yeah. I'm interested to see what this LA crowd's going to be looking like this year. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, Clippers fans historically are, the little brother to the Lakers, but they're in different arenas now, aren't they? So, are they? A little bit of a different. All right. I don't know if they are yet, but I know. I don't think they're yet. They're gonna. Okay, so I guess that's not the case. We'll still be at Crypto.com Arena, which terrible. Staples Center, man. Staples Center was such a great name. I know it's all about the sponsor and stuff, but Staples can't afford that anymore. That's true. I mean, work from home online. You don't need Staples. That's right. You get a paperclip from online nowadays. From the Amazons. I made a joke. Well, I made multiple jokes. I would visit a friend of the show, the man who needs no introduction but gets a really long one anyway, Josh Cranwater, at Josh Cran on Twitter. I'd visit him in the LA area where he lives, and every time we passed a Staples, I'd say, so that's really where the Lakers play, huh? Every single Staples. And it never once got old. That's really good. Really good. It was good. Yeah. So, but the crowd will be interesting. I imagine people will show up. I mean, it's more affordable to see the Clippers than the Lakers, so it's gonna be. I bet it'll be a rowdy crowd. Yeah. They probably won't be chanting Westbrick like our Suns faithful were in game 2. Well, depending on what happens. Yeah, if he's going 3 for 19 again, they might. They might. Yeah. But I imagine it'll be rowdy. It's the playoffs. It always gets rowdy. For sure. I'm done with this, Mitchell. Is it time? It is time. With that, we will move to the non-sports section of the show. And our question this week from our favorite website, teambuilding.com/blog/icebreaker-questions is, when you are alone in the car, what volume is the music at? Loud. Not like cranked or anything, but loud. Mm-hmm. I don't mess around. And even not music, I'm even bumping like sports talk radio pretty loud, which is a little weird, but I find myself doing that pretty frequently. And I don't think it's weird. Okay, good. But it's always going to be a little
conversation when the wife gets into the car after I was in there, because I listen much louder than she does. So she kind of gets smacked in the face by loud music if she gets in the car after me.
Yep. I do crank it. It is very loud for me. I almost have it all the way up most of the time. There have been instances where I turn the car off and open the door and my ears are ringing. That's a little too much, but every once in a while you need that.
My wife would scold you for that. Yeah,
she would. She'd scold me for a lot of things I've done with the way I have played music and stuff like that. But it's loud. There's a joke whenever like my wife and I are in separate cars, and one of us has like our daughter's with us and one of us is taking the baby, she'll be like, make sure you don't turn your music or your podcasts up too loud. She can't sleep, because she always falls asleep in her car seat. Yeah. And I'm like, it's not that loud. But then I get home and she's like, you are blaring that. And it might just be a podcast. So even when I don't think it's that loud, it's usually pretty loud. So when I'm alone, it's the only time I get to listen to anything that loud anymore. At home, the TV is always pretty low. You know, I don't get to blast it anymore. That's the only time I get to do it. So I take advantage.
And it's kind of the best place to do it overall. I mean, you're not, if you're in your car by yourself, you're not bothering anybody else, except maybe like if you're in a parking lot outside an apartment building and you're bumping it pretty loud. That can be a little obnoxious, but yeah, it's you get the best quality sound without bothering a ton of people. Yeah.
Oh, if a new album comes out that I'm really excited for and I really, really want to listen to it, I'll get in the car. And even if I'm not blaring it, I'll just open the garage door, like turn the car on, not all the way on, just so you can get the sound, and I'll play it in there. I did that a while back and it was pretty great. So, yeah, it's funny because I say how loud I listen to it, but I complain all the time about how people drive by my house with their music too loud. It's situational awareness. If it's 2 a.m. and you're driving in a residential area, turn it down. I'm not blaring it in that situation. But, on my way home from work, I'm not in a residential area. It's 6 o'clock, maybe 6:30. I will blare it. And actually, today on my way home, there was some guy who rolled down his window and was yelling at the person next to him. They were in front of me. And so I turned my music way up. Like, you're not going to yell at someone on the road. Like, roll up your window and sit there like the rest of us. And yeah, so that was, he didn't react at all, so maybe it needed to be louder. But I'm like, this is a good time for this.
Exactly. Okay, one parting question.
Okay.
Do you have to turn the music down if you're focusing on, or if you're a little lost or you're trying to find where your turn is? Do you turn the music down?
Yes, every time.
Okay. I think everybody does that.
Mm-hmm. Yep, helps me concentrate.
I thought you might be one of the few who just says no, crank the jams.
I'm not immune to it. I get lost easy, so you got to turn it down or if I'm parking, I'll turn it down if I'm trying to get into a tight spot or something.
Oh yeah.
It's what you got to do. Helps me concentrate.
Fair enough. Glad I'm not the only one. I think it's most of us though.
Yes.
All right. We'll end it right there. We thank you all for tuning in. We will be back with another episode. Maybe game 5 around there. Is that what
we'll see thinking? We'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens. We'll leave it at that. If the Suns lose before we're thinking about recording, it's less likely to happen. If they win, it's more likely to happen. So that's just a little bit of a look into our schedule. So we thank you for tuning in. Check us out on Twitter at Sunny in PHX Pod, on YouTube at Sunny in PHX Podcast, and we'll see you again sometime next week. Go Suns.